Hey all, welcome to Parker's Reefs. On today's episode, we're going to check out two brand new products from Flipper in their magnetic frag rack and their brand new flipper edge, and in this case, the Max flipper edge. Alright, thank you for joining me in another episode of Parker's Reefs. Now on today's episode, the nice people at Flipper were kind enough to send me two of their brand new products to showcase on the channel, so I'm excited to get them out. Full disclosure, I have actually had the magnetic frag rack for about 3 months now and have been using it well, but for the magic of YouTube, I have cleaned it up, put it back in the box so we can go through the unboxing exercise and I can go and show you how it works in my dream reef tank, which, believe it or not, is actually overrated glass for what this is capable of. But I've personally found it to work an absolute treat, even on the 19mm glass. So we'll get to that one soon, but personally, before I like to put a frag rack in, I like to make sure my glass is nice and clean. So we might start off with the Flipper Edge Max, which is something I have not used yet. So we'll go through the unboxing, we'll put it into my dream reef tank, we'll give it a test, we'll compare it to my previous Flipper magnetic cleaner, and we'll just see whether I think it's worth your time and money to upgrade your existing magnet cleaner or not to the brand new Flipper Edge. So let's jump into it. Now, just while I take my old magnet cleaner off the tank, this is why I do think it is important to replace or update your magnet cleaner maybe every 12 to 24 months. This one now is about a year and a half old, and despite giving it a few good cleans, you can see I do end up getting all sorts of little creatures and crustaceans and algae and things growing on there. I got a little home of turbo snails and all those little white crustacean-y buildups on there, which does make me nervous about just scratching the glass. Of course, you replace the blade and you can clean the rest of it. You can even replace the pads on the dry side, but there's something about a clean magnet cleaner that just gives you the safety and the assurance that you are not going to scratch your glass. But let's get this one out and compare it to the new model. All right, here we are. The Flipper Edge Max comes in pretty standard sort of packaging, but let's rip it open and see what magic is included. We do have a couple of acrylic side blades here, so probably more for you guys in America that have got a lot of acrylic tanks. In Australia here, we've got a lot of glass tanks, so they're probably not going to be used. But another point of interest is if you are using the acrylic blades, you can actually make your own replacement blades out of old credit cards or gift cards or of the like that. But it's not going to work so well for glass. That's where, oh yeah, these serious bits of stainless steel come into play. These should do the job quite nicely. Of course, you can buy replacements from Flipper for these, and looking at these, replacing these is going to be a lot easier than the previous model, which had the plastic clips and things like that. So we'll just carefully set those aside. Let's rip into this here. All right, what a beast. Now, you're always going to be careful with strong magnets like this. I'm going to sit one side definitely away. You can see not to expose to excessive heat. That can upset the plastics, which will not make it work too well. That's otherwise just a bit of foam, which you can use for storage. I'm a little bit lazy like that. I do leave my wet side in the tank. I know you probably shouldn't, but I do. So be it. Now, you do also get instructions because this unit is a flipper. I never use this side, but if you wanted to, you can get the magnet. And as the instructions tell you here, when you go to the edge of the glass, turn the magnet around. And when you go around the corner, the wet side will flip over. So you get either the blade side or the scour pad side. But for me, I'm always using the blade side. And that's where the Flipper Edge Max is interesting because it actually has two blades, not just one, and then the tail end of this unit dragging along your tank. The dry side looks pretty similar to the previous one. It's a bit bigger, it's meant to be a little bit more ergonomic. It's probably a good thing on these big magnets because it is a little bit of a workout, so having something a bit more meaningful to grab onto is good. The only downside for me is that that larger side is going to make hiding the dry side in the while it's stuck to the tank a little bit more tricky because it's a big thing and I've got to get my cabinets and doors and stuff past it, but we'll see how we go. Now, you can see here that the wet side here, where the blades go, has absolutely nothing on it. And there's no little Teflon pads there or anything like that for this unit to rub on. It is just going to be sitting on these two blades, which fit in, wow, that easily. They just slide straight in there and then they seemingly just sort of lock in. So this unit's actually just going to sit on these two blades here, and then when it comes time to replace, you can pull them out. You can also flip them over. Another little play on words for flipper, so you get double the use of your blades because the side on the inside there is going to be protected. So that's a nice little improvement on itself, as well as this double blade approach here, which I like. I just don't want any of this touching my glass. I feel like that's where you're going to get sand trapped and scratch your glass. I feel like when it's just the two blades, you got much less chance of that. And of course, it also makes it a little bit easier when you're cleaning glass because you can go from top to bottom, and you're not going to have to flip over if you like the blade side. You're not going to have to go to the top only and then turn it around and go to the bottom only. You can do it all in one motion. But I don't know if there's much more I can tell you about this out of the tank other than keep both the wet side and dry side well apart. Otherwise, you will squash your fingers. I'm going to put this in the tank and test it out. Alright, I've been waiting a number of days to let my glass get extra dirty to test this Flipper Max out to its best abilities, and I'm grateful to say the day is here. So let me open up the hood. I'll show you how I go about adding the wet side to the dry side to make sure you don't damage your glass, the magnet cleaner, or yourself, and then we'll go about doing a quick time lapse of me cleaning this tank. Okay, now it is worth noting that the flipper will float in the tank. However, I like to lower it in with one hand whilst keeping the dry side well out of the way on the other side. But first thing, I like to put the wet side hard up against the glass first, put the dry side down here, and then raise that up to it, and then it takes over. That just makes sure that you don't pull that wet side in so it bangs against the glass or get your finger or a fish caught underneath it. It just seems to be the safest way to go. So, there's not much else to it other than some smooth, silky motions of the flipper, and I'll get this glass nice and clean. Let's jump into it. Alright, I just wanted to show you from the side of the tank because I do always think that is the best place to see just how dirty the glass is, looking down the side length of the pane. And this is 7 days worth of algae on the Dream Reef tank, and the Flipper Edge Max is smashing through it on one pass, which is very, very impressive indeed. And now we'll switch to the time lapse so you can see how I go through the care around the edges of the tank, whether it be the silicone edges or down near the sand. I like to go nice and slow, and then just systematically work side to side to get all of the algae off the guts of the glass and have it looking nice and clean, sparkling like new, and the job was nice and easy with the Flipper Edge Max. Alright, now that the glass is clean, the inherent issues with suction cup frag racks have come to light in that you can't just simply move them to clean the glass behind them. So I figured now's as good a time as any to break out the not used Flipper magnetic frag rack, and we'll transfer the frags from the suction cup style one to this, but we'll go over a bit of the unboxing and see what makes this frag rack different from any of the others on the market. Let's do that now. Alright, let's have a look at this Flipper magnetic frag rack, and you can see on the front of the box here it says with removable utility tray, and it does also specify that it's good for use on glass or acrylic up to 3/8 of an inch or 10 millimeters thick. Now, as I've already touched on in the intro, I've actually been running this for about 3 months on my 19 mil thick glass, and it's been holding just fine. I'm not going to say that you could sit 3 kilos of weight on it, but it has held its full swag of frags and some on 19 mil glass and has been totally fine. But just for argument's sake, that is the specified thickness of glass. So we'll open this up, and like I did touch on, I have actually been using this one, so I've cleaned it up to make it look as new as possible, but it is used. So you can see we get these nice little rare earth magnets here. We're just going to move the plastic packaging aside, and here is your tray here. Now, I did note that on the Flipper website you can actually get a black on black, or I think you can even get a solid blue, but I've got a blue and black rack here. It's pretty simple, the rack itself. I mean, it's just a 90-degree bend there. It's got some various sized frag holes or spaces for frag tiles, I guess, or plugs that go in there. The center holes are definitely large enough to fit all of the frag plugs that I have, and then you've got a couple of different sizes, so if you have some big tiles or you just want to give them a bit of extra space, you can with those there. Now, what makes this a little bit different, a little bit more interesting, I guess, is this little utility shelf that you get with it. Now, the idea of this is that when you have this on your tank, you can, and the magnets are in place holding that on the glass, you can actually then slide this down on the outside of the glass, and it gives you this little utility tray. So while you are doing fragging, you can sit your corals or your tiles or your glue or your tweezers, whatever it may be, on here. particularly useful for those who are out there who have tanks with no bracing whatsoever. Traditionally, you just sit your glue and your tiles and things on the bracing, and that works a treat, whether you've got a center brace or a Euro brace. But more and more often now, we're seeing tanks that are completely rimless, they're open on the top, and that would pose such an issue when you're fragging. You've got nowhere to sit your things. So this little utility tray is perfect for that. I'll show you how it works in a minute when I put this frag rack on my tank. There's nothing much more to say about it really, other than, yeah, same deal here. You got to watch the magnets. They will attach to this quite strong, despite being fairly small. They will latch on quite hard and they will squash your fingers in the middle. And also the two exterior magnets, you need to keep them apart from each other because they will try to grab onto each other as well. So make sure you give all the magnetic surfaces or magnetic items plenty of space just to make sure you don't squash a finger. But I reckon it's time to rip out my suction cup magnet, suction cup frag rack and get this flipper unit back in the tank where it belongs. All right, first things first, let's get this frag rack actually in the tank. So much like the magnet cleaner, I'm going to put the frag rack where I want it. I'm going to hold it up against the glass, and then I'm going to bring the dry side magnet on. Just this time, obviously, I have to do that with two magnets. So now you can see the frag rack is in place, and I can start bringing my frags across from my other frag rack, sitting them on there. Easy peasy. I'll speed this up so you don't have to watch me intricately move one frag after the other. And there we have it, 16 frags later, which is 2 more frags than it's meant to hold. Plus, it's on glass that's basically twice as thick as it's meant to hold, and the flipper frag rack is doing just fine. I quite like the black, even the blue kind of turns a little bit black in the tank, really lets the colors of your corals pop and do the talking, which is exactly what you want. Now, I'll get the utility rack and show you how that works. All right, now that you've got your frag rack in place, you can simply grab the utility shelf here and you just sit that above where the magnets are and slide it down into place. It'll then grab onto those magnets that sit there like that. Then you can simply grab your frag tiles if you like. You can sit them on there. You can grab your cutters, obviously, if you're going to need to cut things, sit them on there. And of course, you probably need some glue, something like that, so you can sit your glue on there. Makes it very easy to access all of the tools you're going to need to make some more frags and put them on your flipper frag rack. Oh, and of course, when you're done, simply take all your tools off. Take your tiles off as well if you want, or you can leave them on there. Simply slide that up, take it away. Do your fragging somewhere else, or just leave your frags there in the display tank so that they get nicely encrusted so you can sell them on and make a little bit of pocket money. All right, guys, there you have it. That is my unboxing and overview of 2 brand new products from Flipper. Firstly, the Max Flipper Edge, their brand new dual bladed magnetic cleaner. I think it's a fantastic bit of kit. I've never liked the underside of the magnet just sort of dragging its bum along the glass, just waiting for a bit of sand or a snail or some sort of stony buildup to get in there and just scratch the buggery out of your glass. So having a cleaner that just sits on the 2 blade edges is fantastic. And then you get into the point of just being able to flip those blades over, get twice as long out of them, how easy they are to change without those awkward little plastic clips that you got to feel like you're going to break every time you try to pry them off. And you've got yourself a fantastic flipper cleaner. And you know, all of the flippers now float as well, which is an extra bonus as well. And you've got this big ergonomic handle, which makes, particularly on these large 19mm thick glass tanks, makes the job just that little bit easier. Secondly, we've got the flipper, which my fish are very interested on the frags that they're at the moment, the flipper magnetic frag rack, which comes with the super unique utility shelf that you can just sit on there. I've got to say, I've been so highly impressed by this thing. I did not think it would work at all in my tank. It is meant to be good for 10mm glass. This is currently sitting on 19mm glass with an extra 2 frags. I've got 16 frags on a 14 frag rack there, and I can still use the shelf and put all my tools, frags and glue on there. It does not look like it's going to fall at all, and it's been doing the job perfectly for 3 months now. So if you do have a glass that is less than 19mm thick, you're going to have a fantastic time with the flipper magnetic frag rack. And like I said, I think this little shelf design, particularly for people with rimless tanks, is an absolute game changer. Alright guys, I will wrap the video up there. If you're chasing some more information on either of these 2 new Flipper products, I'll be sure to put the link in the description of both of them on the Flipper website so you can go and have a look. But of course, you need to go to your local fish shop, hit them up and say, I saw the new Flipper Edge cleaner on Parker's Reef or the Flipper magnetic frag rack on Parker's Reef, and I'd like you to get one in. That's the best way to get hold of it. Support your local fish shop and they will support you in this hobby. If you've got any questions about either of these products, about myself or the channel in general, feel free to pop in the comment section down below. below because I do personally reply to each and every comment there. Other than that, guys, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Maybe consider subscribing to the channel. We're nearing that magical 22,000 subscriber mark, and I'd love to have you on board. Anyway, guys, I'll wrap things up there. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time, stay safe, keep reefing. Cheers, bye.